Right, so here is a little bit of commentary about experience points in first edition Player's Handbook underneath the subheading for the cleric. As you can see here, experience points were still being referred to as EP. This must have made it through whatever low-level QA and proofreading mechanism was in place for the publication of the first edition works. EP slipped through instead of XP. So when you see EP as the abbreviation in Dragons Beyond, just know that this is based not only on the 73 playtest materials, but has a basis in first edition as well. What you see up on the screen right now are the way that experience points were awarded back in Zero Edition. So this is OD&D as published in 1974. And as you can see, prime requisites provide a bonus, as we expect. There is an award for treasure. There's also an award for killing monsters. The interesting thing here is the amount that's awarded based on the hit dice of the monsters, and also this proportionality concept that, hey, if you're a 6th level adventurer beating up on 1st level monsters and wiping out 1st level dungeons, you really should not be awarded nearly as much experience points as if you had delved to the 6th level and done your worst against the monsters and taken their treasure from deep in the earth. Makes sense to me. I definitely do like this system a lot more than what came afterwards. So let's take a look at what came afterwards. Okay, so experience in first edition is split across 2 pages. I won't bore you too much with it, but on average, what is happening here during the lower levels is you see very little XP being awarded for monsters. You're still getting XP for gold pieces, right? On a 1-for-1 basis, according to relative strengths. So if the Guardian was relatively weaker, award 5 GP, 4 to 4 XP, 3 to 2, 2 to 1. So this proportionality concept is carried through. But with monsters, there is a matrix for awarding monster XP that awards very few experience points at lower hit dice monsters and awards basically back to 100 per hit dice once you get above the 4th level monsters. Also, it factors in exceptional abilities and special abilities to give additional modifiers, as well as the pluses that you see after the hit dice can lead to some additional XP as well. But that's still very close to what we saw in Zero Edition. Now, there are these concepts here about awarding bonus point awards. There's also the ability to get experience points for magic items that you see show up, especially with the tables that you see in Unearthed Arcana that I'm not going to throw up on the screen. And then also they introduced a leveling concept that, hey, despite the fact that you got the XP, you still have to go through training in order to be awarded the increases in combat capability, etc., spells, savings, throws for your class. And that is based on the GM's scoring of your playing of that player, coupled with the number of weeks that you spend in training. And oh, by the way, you have to spend some of your XP for that training. So if you are a very poor player, it would take you 4 times the amount of training that it would for an excellent player. As a matter of fact, it's quite possible under this system at low levels that if you're a poor player, you would not be able to earn enough gold. You would earn far in excess of the XP that you needed for the level to achieve the gold that you needed to be able to pay for the training to be able to get to second level, right? If you were a poor player at first level, and the same would carry through for second and third level. It's kind of weird when you start to think about those edge cases about how this system would work, and also the very concept that the dungeon master is actually grading you on your performance. Now, Hackmaster really loved this concept and rolled with it, right? I mean, they Hackmaster was allegedly a parody of first edition, but really it's a complete game system. But in some cases, they really leaned into the parody aspect and this idea that the GM is grading you for every session that you're doing in front of him or her is something they took to heart and kind of poked fun at a little bit. In Holmes, here we see it. Holmes gives experience points for treasure, and it also gives experience points based on that same matrix, right? Giving bonuses for special abilities, awarding very little XP for the lower level monsters, even up through fourth level again. It isn't until you get to 4+1 that you really see that 100 XP per hit dice really starting to kick in again. Let's pivot to Moldvay just to take a look what he did, since Moldvay, when he wrote Basic, took a little bit different tack than we saw in Holmes. Again, tough situations, you can do a category better. You can give partial experience. If they didn't actually defeat the monster, you're starting to see some loosey-goosey rules getting introduced in there. You still have the same kind of progression, right? 4 and 4+1 is where the break point is, where you start to earn about 100 hit points, or I'm sorry, 100 experience points per hit dice again. You're not going to see the same complexity that you do in AD&D and in second edition, but this loosey-goosiness really was something that a DM could hang his hat on to award extra experience points or less experience points. It really leaned into GM discretion. Cook, you don't see anything earth-shattering. As a matter of fact, all it does is extend the table. It doesn't have any commentary about an explanation. It says simply refer back to Moldvay. Second edition, as people should know, right? Gary Gygax left the company. He was ousted from the company. He had his own second edition, at least started. There are some indications that there were a few topics that Gygax had identified, but then he gets ousted and everything gets shoved over to Zeb Cook to do the second edition design work with many other hands involved. In second edition, you see a lot of discretion here for the DM. As a matter of fact, you can award cash value of non-magical treasures. You can award group awards. You can award awards for achieving goals. You can award XP for, oh gosh, pretty much anything that you want to. Of course, you still get XP for killing creatures, but the idea of XP for treasure, however, the idea of XP for treasure has somewhat stepped into the background, which doesn't, to me, bode well for that edition and what came after it. I think removing the section where Gary had talked about grading your performance during sessions and the idea of training. Training now becomes an optional rule. It's still there. It could still be done. And again, rate of advancement is definitely something that they address. They don't want you to advance more than one level per time experience is awarded, right? So you can't double up on experience levels. No matter how many XP you earn, you're capped. Um, I personally don't like that rule at all. And then lastly, you can have individual class awards, right? Based on doing other things that in the past had not been awarded any XP. So they're giving you guidance, right, to the DM for if you have a clever idea, if you make a scroll or research a new spell, that stuff gives you XP in addition to the benefit of doing that activity. I think second edition is where things really got off the rails. I mean, how many pages are we talking about here? We're talking about one, two, three, four, 5 pages, right? Where did we start at? We started with one paragraph back with OD&D. Now we've got 5 pages. I just can't find that system. I can't embrace that system. And I did not embrace that system in Dragons Beyond. But there is an exception. There's an exception to everything. Let me show you what this 1973 manuscript, the Dalluhn slash Beyond This Point Be Dragons manuscript had to say about experience. I think that's going to be eye-opening for some of you. So experience points in the 1973 playtest. Yes, you get experience for besting monsters in Mortal Kombat if you're a cleric or if you're a fighting man. Remember, there's no thieves, no other classes, just the 3 core classes, right? Magic users and clerics can get XP for casting spells. Problem: clerics don't get to start casting until 2nd level, but clerics do get to get XP for killing monsters for the first 3 levels that they are active. The other thing is that there is not XP for treasure for all of the classes. Only fighting men get the XP for getting loot on a 1-for-1 basis. And some of those are actually used for training. So there's actually a throwaway sentence there at the end. You've got some prime requisite bonuses, right, up to 25%, which is very different than what we see in Moldvay. Anyway, the problem with this system is that wizards, magic users and clerics are only going to be getting XP for casting spells, and they get a little kicker if they do it in basically a situation where their life is in danger, or it's in some other way. It's a situation that could cause harm to the party. It says times of peril, right? So there's a little bit of wiggle room there. But the other thing that they can do is if they're using one of their traits, like strength, intelligence, cunning, health, whatever it is, the XP can be awarded for that. So how do you take this 1973 system, which was class-based, and scale it up? I don't think that you can, especially if you intend to eventually go to the places I intend to go with Advanced Dragons Beyond with multiple classes. If you want to tack on classes, if you want your system to be modular, and yet you're awarding XP based on specific things that a specific class does, I think that system breaks down. It becomes really clunky to administer if you're the GM. So when I designed Dragons Beyond, I also looked at Tunnels and Trolls, which was the 2nd oldest gaming system for fantasy, allegedly, right? There's a little debate online about Midgard and one other system called Dungeon, whether those were actually the 2nd fantasy game. But let's just roll with the fact that Tunnels and Trolls is actually the 2nd oldest fantasy game. So this came out in 1975. I love this, right? So I did take some of these mechanics and adapt them for Dragons Beyond. If you make a saving throw for something and you survive, whether you failed the saving roll or succeeded at the saving roll, either way, the fact that you were in that dangerous situation and had to make a save means that you're entitled to immediately attain some experience. Gaining magical prizes, magical treasure, right? Magical items you find you do get awarded XP. So this harkens back again to like Unearthed Arcana and first edition era. Using magic, interestingly enough, they had a concept of giving you spellcasting XP as well. I like it. I'm going to keep it, but we keep it kind of generic, right? And then treasure, of course, you get awarded, and combat, you get awarded XP. Daring. Daring is one of the most interesting concepts. I liked it. Basically, if you go to the second level of a dungeon, and this is your first time down to the second level, and you actually go out of the corridor, right? You have to actually break down a door, go into a room. You have to go to an encounter area, keyed encounter area. If you do that, you get XP the first time you do that on that dungeon level, and each dungeon level is succeedingly more XP. So it incentivizes, especially at lower level, that you might want to take that risk. You might want to go down that stairway, even though greedy players and players who want to advance quickly, this rule might tempt them to really push it to the limit. And I like that a lot. So to recap, right, I wanted to be true to OD&D with the 100 XP per hit dice, coupled with a proportionality. But I also like getting spellcasting XP. I like getting found magic XP, saving throw XP, daring, treasure, and treasure especially being applicable to all classes. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm sorry I have talked your ear off about experience. Don't do second level. Friends don't let friends do second edition AD&D, nor do they let them go down the Menser dark path. Anyway, talk to you soon. Bye.